Alright, I have two routers connected over serial connections, and I have two networks. I'm going to translate the 172.16 network on my Ethernet to a 10.2 WAN interface to another 10. Network, but I'm going to use a loopback address. So I'm going to get on my router. This is my first router. This is the router that's going to do the NAT translation. Show IP interface brief. So far I have fast Ethernet 00, which will be configured, and serial interface 00, which will be my WAN connection. Config T, interface fast Ethernet 0/0, IP address 172.16.0.1, typical class B mask, turn on. And then new interface S0/0, IP address 10.2.0.1. This is subnetted. And that interface, I do not set clock rate on. Okay. RIP version 2. Now typically you would identify both the directly connected networks, but here I'm going to identify the 10 network. I'm not going to put in the 172.16 network. IP interface brief. My fast Ethernet is up, so I should be able to ping my local IP address. Local IP address is going to be 172.16.0.100. So that one is my gateway. Double check that and give me a warning message. Looks good. Okay, it's giving me multiple gateways, so I need to disable my other Ethernet adapter. And once it's disabled, I should be able to ping from the router. 172.16.0.100. Should be able to ping my workstation, and I can. So my workstation is communicating to my router. I am now going to go to my other router and configure it, changing the console port connection. Let's do host name router 2. There we go. Now we're going to run router 2. I'm going to do show interfaces. And let's try that again. The interface brief. Kind of do a short. Here I have Ethernet 0, which is going to be configured, and serial 0. So those are the two interfaces I'm going to configure. Config T, interface E0, right without the slash, IP address 10.5.0.1, subnetted, shut. Interface S0, IP address 10.2.0.2 because it's on the 10.2 network. Clock rate 64,000. Just a double check. Show IP interface brief. And my fast Ethernet is up. Serial 0 is administratively down right now. So let's take a look at that.
You did no shut.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. Interface S0, no shut. Router RIP version 2, and there goes my interface. It's up. And we're just going to do network 10.0.0.0. It's going to know that I have two directly connected networks and they're subnetted. Show IP route, and I should see that I have two directly connected networks and they're subnetted. And from here I should be able to ping the other router, which is 10.2.0.1, and I should not be able to ping 172.16.0.100 because it is not being routed by the router 1. So now that I have this configured, I should be able to ping my workstation, ping 10.5.0.100. I have my laptop hooked up to the Ethernet interface. Double check here my cables. Connected cables. Yeah, probably would help if I turn my firewall off. Aha, that's the problem. Now let's try it. There we go. Okay, so firewall's turned off, I can communicate to that workstation. I'm going to switch back to router 1 now, because that's where I'm going to do the NAT translations. So I should be able to, I'm on router 1 now, should be able to ping that workstation from the router, but I'm not going to be able to ping it from my workstation. .5.0.100. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to ping it from the workstation. Do an IP config. And my local area connection 2, as you can see, is 172.16.0.100. I'll move that out of the way for now. And we're going to configure NAT. So, first thing I do is identify the interfaces that are going to be inside and the interfaces are going to be outside. So I go config T, interface FA0/0, and I do IP NAT inside, and then the interface S0/0, IP NAT outside. That's it. Okay, now I need to create a loopback interface in order to create a network that I can use to translate for the 172 network. So I'm going to type interface loopback 0 and IP address 10.100.0.1. So I created a 10 dot network that is going to be allowed to be the translated network for the new outside global address, actually. Okay, so there's my loopback interface came up. So now I need to identify my static NAT translation. So I type IP NAT inside source static, and then identify the static IP address of my workstation, which is 172.16.0.100 space, and then identify my global, outside global address. And that's going to be the 10.100.0.100. There's my static NAT translation. So when the source computer goes out to the 10 network, it's going to get translated from 172 into a 10 dot address. So as you saw before, I could not ping the 10.5.0.100 computer. Show IP NAT translations, and I can see I have the translation. Now I'm going to go here. This is my workstation, my 172.16.0.100 workstation. And now I'm going to ping 10.5.0.100, and this time I get a reply from it because it is getting translated. So my inside global 10.100.0.100, that's my global address when it goes out over the public network or the untrusted, and then here's my inside local 172.16.0.100. Now from my workstation I should be able to connect, or from my laptop I should be able to connect back to this computer. And again, we do a show IP route. The 172.16 network is not getting routed, because if I switch over to router 2, you'll see that there is no 172.16 network. Router 2, show IP route. So this router has no clue that there's a 172.16 network, but it does, and it has learned via RIP, that's what the R stands for, that there is a 10.100.0.0 network. And that's how you do static NAT translation.